there, crafty friends. This is Grace, and welcome to the layout number 4 of my masculine series here in my YouTube channel. So for this one, I am going to use the negative space of the stars that I had cut out for layout number 2, and I'm going to back that up. So this technique is nothing new, and it's pretty simple and easy, and it's just backing it up with papers. And I think that's a good way of using up scraps and also like negative spaces of the items that we had cut. So I'm just going to show you a couple of the stars that I will back up, but I will do the rest off camera, so you don't have to see me do this this part here. And it is pretty self-explanatory. So I'm just basically cutting. As you can see, I am actually, like, I've marked the star shape, but I've cut the star just a little bit bigger than the shape, just so that there's a part there that the paper can hold onto in the back. Because if you cut it on the line, then it won't have enough, you won't have enough paper to actually go over the edges of the stars on the back. So that's what I'm doing here. And I will be cutting the stars, like I try to cut like 3 of the patterns at a time and just kind of spread them around the block, just so that there's a good variation of the papers. And as you can see, I'm also using pretty much scraps of the papers that I've already used in previous layouts. So this particular layout is going to be about my first child and his kind of like just a summary, I should say, of his wrestling years in high school. And the reason for that was because I created a collage of photos of wrestling on a wooden letter, which is, we use the R because that's, sorry, that's his high school letter. And so we used R, and then I printed out a bunch of wrestling pictures, and I had some leftovers. And so I figured that I would use the leftovers on a scrapbook just so that, you know, I can use up the photos. So a lot of these are 2x3s. I think there was just one 3x4, but most of this is 2x3 because I wanted it smaller. When I printed it off, I had the idea of the more pictures, the better. And because of the letter, they had to be small enough that it could go in the nooks and crannies of the letter R. Anyways, so that's what I'm kind of doing here, and I'm trying to figure out how to set them up. And as you can see, there's also a space on the bottom. Initially, I thought, well, maybe I can put my title there, but then I felt like there needs to be a balance of papers on the left side and also on the right side. So I am going to punch some banners from the same papers that I'd used to back up those stars onto that corner there, or the edge, just so that I will have some of that paper. But in hindsight, I think I should have just kept it as a place for my title, because the way I'm looking at the page now, it just seemed a little too busy for my liking, because there's a lot of things going on. There's that, you know, the bright blues and yellows from the photos, and then you have all of these patterns from the stars, and then you had the stars, and then you had these banners. So I think this is a little too busy for my liking, but let me know in the description box below. Is it okay? Should I have just maybe muted it down a little bit? I don't know. What do you guys think? So now that I have the banners, I am going to adhere the photos. And again, these are all just leftovers from a few of them, like these post shots are from his senior photo shoot that I did with him the summer before senior year. But I like it because it has his Letterman jacket, and yeah, I just like that one. So I'm adding that, and then a few of his when he's wrestling, a few of when he got his awards, and a few of actual, you know, like a few group shots of his team and whatnot. So I think this is a good one, especially since when we think about boys, we think about their sports. And so I thought that this would be a good way to show you what you can do if you have an athlete in your family or an athlete that you like to scrapbook. And so I think at this point I could stop here as far as like adding papers, but I like that there's a division between the photos and the blocks of paper. I feel like that just works well with my eyes, that there's this division between there. So I am adding a very subtle black striped paper there, and I cut that 1/2 inch, and I'm going to put that in between the blocks of paper and the block of stars. Now I do cut off some of the stars there, and that's totally fine. Another thing that I did was I wanted to incorporate another homemade embellishment, something that matches well with my theme of my layout. So I had cut a silhouette of two wrestlers, trying to get started with their wrestling. We call that the tie-up, but they're in the process of wrestling. So I cut that up, and then, or sorry, I downloaded a silhouette and then put that in my silhouette design store, or no, design software, and then cut that up with some black glittered cardstock. So one of these days, I think I will do a tutorial on how I would download something and then cut it up on my software. Let me know if that's something that you guys would be interested in, because it's fairly easy. I mean, it's really easy, but you do need to have a software. And I don't know if I were to do a tutorial on that, since I have the Cameo, is it easily transferable to a Cricut? I don't know if that's even going to help a lot of people, because it's a different software. But anyways, I'm sure there's a lot of tutorials on YouTube for that, because that's what I do when I'm stumped on something. I always go to YouTube. So now I'm working on my title, and I decided to do it on that biggest star. Again, hindsight, if I were to do this again, I'd probably do that. Instead of backing that off with some pattern paper, I just probably do it with some solid cardstock, just so that that title would stand out a little bit more. Now I have these Viva drops. I can't remember what it's called, but I've had that for a long, long time. And I was thinking of doing blues, but yeah, it's time for me to trash that because it wasn't working. And so now I wanted to keep with the school colors, and so I want to do the blue, but then it's not working. So I'm going to do this kind of mustardy yellow, but I have a hard time. I need to find a different way of storing my Nouveau drops, because they are not going down seamlessly. And it's just, you will see in the close-up pictures that they are not turning out good. I'm very frustrated with my Nouveau drops right now, but I still like them, but they're not, yeah. I need to find a different way to store them, because they're either gunky or they're glubby or whatever. Anyways, so that is my layout. I hope that you guys will continue to follow along. We are down to our last layout of this mini series. If you like these videos, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing, and hit that bell button so that YouTube will notify you when I do post my next layout. Until then, there's some close-up shots at the end of this. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in another video. Bye.